Just when we thought we'd seen it all, we've got a new front runner for Bad Beat of the Year and a 44-year-old coming out of retirement in hopes of leading a team to the postseason. Weird things are happening across the league, and we're discussing all of it. Chalk and Chat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook and Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome into Chalk and Chat. I'm Mariah Janos. We're on to the final stretch of the regular season, 4 weeks to go, and zero clarity on how this playoff picture will shake out. But you know what we do have clarity on? How peaceful it is when I get to work one-on-one with this guy right here. Teddy Covers holding it down in studio with me today, and usually he has a complete nuisance sitting next to him, but hold on, I'm getting something in my ear here. Okay, so Jack took it upon himself to go on vacation and work remotely. So let's check in with the slacker who's God knows where.
Hey everybody, Fat Jack here, and we are heading toward bowl season. This is Chalk and Chat, and we have gone the extra mile to get you ready for not only bowl season, but the upcoming push toward the playoffs in pro football. Stay with us from sunny Florida as Chalk and Chat goes on the road for this week.
All right, coming up on today's show, we have arguably the Bad Beat of the Year right here in Las Vegas last weekend. We're going to talk about that. Plus, with just a few weeks left in the season, what are those bottom feeder teams playing for, and how do we approach betting on them? Teddy's going to guide us through that, and we'll send it back down to Jack as he is the self-proclaimed totals king. See which totals he's eyeing for this weekend. We're going to round it out with a little exploration of the prop market and best bets. But I've mentioned it twice now, Teddy. Arguably the Bad Beat of the Year that we're coming off of here in Las Vegas last weekend against Denver. That was a tough one down the stretch there.
Sure. I mean, you can still make a case for Philly versus L.A.
True.
That's one that stood out. You can still make a case for Arizona versus Tennessee. That's another one that stood out. But it's never over till it's over.
That's
yes,
the definition of it.
Certainly a Bad Beat of the Year candidate because both side and total were affected by the quote-unquote meaningless late field goal at the end of Las Vegas versus Denver last week. We had a Dave Portnoy meltdown.
Yep.
And please, I understand Barstools, they got their thing, but you can't call for public executions of coaches or referees based on flags or decisions when your bet loses. But if you missed it, what happened? Vegas was pretty much dominated all game. Mm-hmm. They scored a late touchdown to make the margin 10. They were still down by 10 points with, 16 seconds left, and they threw a pass over the middle. Receiver tackled. Clock's supposed to run out, but, there's a flag for funny business for Denver. They didn't let the guy up. Pete Carroll, instead of, doing whatever he was going to do, he sent the field goal unit out, and boom, a field goal with no time remaining, 46-yarder from Daniel Carson. And instead of losing by 10, Las Vegas loses by 7. Instead of staying under, the game goes over by a half point. And his quotes after the game were like, well, I thought there was a chance we were going to extra time on the clock. We might have 8 seconds instead of 5, so maybe we can get an onside kick on the last play. Quote, I knew it was going to look stupid, like you couldn't figure out why we were doing it, but there was a clear thought of what we were trying to get down there. Just take it to the very last click. That might be good enough for you. I don't understand that. But I think you can see what we were trying to do. It just didn't work out. Bottom line, if you had Denver minus the points, if you had the under, tough beat last Sunday.
Oh, yeah. It was a double doozy there. And later on in the show, we're actually going to hear from the Superbook on how they were impacted by that game. The bettors not the only ones not thrilled with the outcome on that one. But another bad beat, if you will, Cleveland and Tennessee. We've seen Quinshon Judkins taking the direct snap in recent weeks. It backfired this time around a little bit.
Well, on a 2-point conversion try at the end of the game. I mean, 12 previous games this season, Cleveland scored more than 20 only twice, and they won both of those games by 2 touchdowns or more. So last week they hang 29 on Tennessee, but the defense doesn't show. So they need a 2-point conversion to tie for overtime. You have Shedeur Sanders, who's, again, marching the offense up and down the field. Where does he go? He goes to the sidelines for the 2-point conversion play, the direct snap. Doesn't exactly, if you watch it, it was as big a debacle as you'll ever see for a play in this league. And Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, after the game, quote, Not going to get into all the specifics, but obviously it did not go as we thought it would. Of course, if you're a Cleveland fan, well, now you have a better chance of getting the number 1 overall draft pick. If you're a Cleveland bettor, you certainly were not amused with that debacle of a 2-point conversion try.
The decision-making by Stefanski has been blowing my mind with Shedora of when he's pulling him out and having, again, the direct snap to go to Judkins. We saw it here, and I saw it here in Las Vegas in front of my own eyes, and I was like, what is going on? Does he not trust this young quarterback? What's the situation here? So I think that's just really interesting and something that we'll need to keep an eye on going forward. But we are just getting started here on Chalk and Chat. Coming up, we're heading down south to hear from the Totals King himself, that Jack, and which matchups he's eyeing for Week 15.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, we are here at the Superbook at the Westgate. We got our pal Casey here with us. All right, we're on to Week 15, but I want to go back to Week 14. Some crazy things happened, some unexpected outcomes. Yeah. How did you guys do overall here at the book?
We had a small winning day for us. Houston beating Kansas City Sunday night was big. Anytime you can get an underdog to win in primetime, that's going to kill off the teasers and parlays. And then, of course, last night, LA beating Philly was good for us also.
And then we got to talk about the Vegas game. The game that happened here, the field goal that was not necessary, but I understand the logic behind it. How did that impact you guys here? Was it good, bad? I know some fans were upset.
It was not good for us.
Okay.
We saw it coming a few plays away. They got a penalty, which put Vegas in field goal range, and we kind of were afraid they were going to kick it, and that was like a low to mid 5-figure swing against us, actually. Yeah, we needed the miss. That hurt us.
Okay, so in a situation like that, how do you respond? What do you do? Do you guys just eat it?
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do. You just kind of got to root for a miss, like a fan. That if you have money on it, same thing, but just take our loss and move on. Okay,
now hopefully a better week ahead. Any early action line movement you're seeing this week?
The hometown Vegas team, we opened them plus 12.5 in Philly. Took some sharp money there. We're down to 10.5. And then in Seattle, they were, I think, 10.5. We're all the way up to 13.5 because Indianapolis doesn't have a quarterback. They signed Phillip Rivers to the practice squad, so he might play. So I can't imagine that'll go well.
Yeah, a situation like that, if Phillip Rivers does in fact play, I mean, it's already a rough situation, whether it's the third string or Rivers. How does that impact the spread?
It's kind of hard, like specifically, but with this game, Seattle was already a double-digit favorite, right. So we're going to move that more aggressively than if the game was close. If they were like a 3-point favorite and it's a new quarterback, we probably wouldn't move it as aggressive. But here we're just trying to get to the top of the market and see like what number the sharp people will bet on the underdog, if they even will.
All right, Case, thank you so much. Good stuff. I love when we switch it up and have Casey on here instead of John Murray. A nice, no offense, John, a nice young face.
John's our boy, though.
John's our boy. We love him. But it's always fun to have Casey there as well. And we are all holding our breath to see if Phillip Rivers will, in fact, be coming in. I mean, well, it might not be this weekend, but you got to expect that it's going to come at some point, I'm thinking. No?
If Indy has their if things break right for Indy, Phillip Rivers never sees the field.
Yeah, let's hope. I just for safety of it all. But anyways, let's move on to this weekend's games. At this point, you got some bottom feeder teams from the outside looking in. It likes to be labeled as they've got nothing to play for. There's always something to play for every single player out there. But let's talk about some of these teams, Teddy.
Yeah, so, I mean, the mainstream narrative is always this team has nothing to play for down the stretch. Of course, we have still 4 more weeks of football. Mm-hmm. And over the course of the last week, we saw both New York teams, the G-Men and Gangrene, Cleveland, Tennessee, Las Vegas, Washington, Atlanta, New Orleans, Arizona, all officially eliminated from playoff contention over the course of the last week or two. Next up for elimination, by the way, is Minnesota, Cincinnati, Miami. All need to win out. And the mainstream media, what do? They say, they got nothing to play for. The reality, even if the team has nothing to play for, the individual players and the individual coaches still have a lot to play for. They're playing for their jobs. They're playing for their futures. And there's a difference when you're talking about the types of teams that have been eliminated. All right. You have teams whose coaches have already been fired. You have teams who coaches that aren't first-year coaches who are going to be back next season. And then you have the teams who really expected to be in playoff contention. And of those three, the coaches who've already been fired, the coaches, the first-year coaches, I worry most down the stretch about the teams that were supposed to be in playoff contention. Teams like Arizona and Atlanta, who fought the good fight this year, but have failed to live up to expectations, and both now have veteran coaches who may not be back a year from now. So from an effort standpoint, those are the teams I worry about the most. But, I mean, look at this quote from the linebacker, Cedric Gray from Tennessee. Quote, "I'm not worried about the number 1 overall pick. We're ball players. We got heart every time we step on the field." And that's something a lot of bettors fail to notice or fail to recognize is the players don't want the number 1 pick. That's the guy, a higher draft choice. That's the guy that's going to come in there and take their job. So you tend to see good effort from a lot of the quote-unquote teams with nothing to play for down the stretch. Not all of them, but many of them find a way to cover some point spreads.
Yeah, they still got those personal incentives as well. Now, those are, some of the teams that the media has maybe written off as nothing to play for, right? Well, Jack's got some teams that definitely have something to play for this weekend.
So if we're looking at this week's games, guys, I did not start the year going to become a totals king as we head into December and toward the holiday season. But I see some things jumping out each week when I start breaking down these games that have been pretty easy money. And so being able to fix things this time of year really, really difficult, and being able to identify that is one of the keys. And being able to fix bad defenses. When you go to practice and you're like, hey, tackle better. That's not a thing. Coaches can't make guys tackle better. Hey, we're hurt at defensive end. Somebody call up a defensive end from the 60s and let's get him in here. That's not a thing. So fixing bad defenses this time of year is really tough to do. So we're going to try to take advantage of that. Teams like Buffalo and New England going over the total this week. Buffalo, listen, this team's great. Josh Allen's great. Obviously, New England's had a great year offensively. We'll see if that continues, if they play better teams, Mariah. But as we head into this week, these two teams are playing each other. What we get are offenses that are clicking along with one bad defense at least. Buffalo, I think this will be a score fest, but Buffalo being able to stop the run has not been consistent. They are banged up on the defensive side of the ball, and Josh Allen has frankly been taking over in the games they've been winning. Buffalo's second in total offense, New England's 7th in total offense. Buffalo's defense not very good, not tackling, not getting pressure on the quarterback. And these are things that are hard to fix. Buffalo over 6 of their last 9. New England over 5 of their last 7. So we're going to go over in that game. The opposite side of that, especially as we head toward December, are coaches that are conservative and will continue to be conservative based on how their teams have been playing. I gave everybody the under in Houston, Kansas City. Should have bet a small import on that last week. Didn't. Had it, but didn't bet as much as I should have. But Kansas City not catching the ball, playing really good defense and playing hard, but you get a conservative game plan out of Andy Reid for sure as we head into the colder months, especially when his offense is not clicking right. They're going to short passes, try to run the ball effectively. On the other side, they're playing LA. Harbaugh's the same way. This dude, Herbert's hurt. They're not going to put him in bad situations. And so look for this one to go under. Kansas City as an under bet has been really, really profitable lately. So I like under in the Los Angeles-Kansas City game as well.
All right, the total king. He looks a little weird today. I don't know what it is. All right, still to come on Chalk and Chat.
Today?
We're headed to the prop shop. I know. Jack and Teddy have handpicked some intriguing prop bets for Week 15. Stick around.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, so normally this is the part of the show where we have our prop battle, but because Jack decided to play hooky, we're not exactly battling, but each of them are going to give a couple props that they like for this week. So steady Teddy, do us the honors and get us going with those props.
Absolutely. So Jack just talked about how he likes the over in New England Buffalo, and I certainly wouldn't talk you out of that wager. I like a prop here, and that would be James Cook for Buffalo, the running back, anytime touchdown. Minus 120, the prevailing number. And note, not first touchdown, not last touchdown. I'm not looking for the big long shot payout. Anytime touchdown is the bet that I prefer to have because it takes some of the randomness out of the equation. Now, Cook fumbled at the 2 last week. You know, he's had a handful of fumbles. He fumbled in each of the last 2 ball games, and Buffalo needs him This is a get-right game against a get-right defense. New England defense struggling, particularly against a run. They have defensive line injuries. That's a problem. And, oh, by the way, New England number 32, dead last in the league, allowing 73% touchdowns in the red zone. I think James Cook finds his way into the end zone. Cook anytime TD, minus 120. I also want to talk about Joe Burrow, and I like him over his passing yards. I saw 259.5 early in the week. I saw 262.5 before we came on air. So the early money has come for Joe Burrow over the total in Baltimore. And look, 2 weeks since coming off the IR, he's got 261 and 284. This Baltimore defense, we think of Baltimore as being an elite defensive team. Not this year. This defense is a sieve. Aaron Rodgers didn't complete a pass longer than 31 yards the whole month of November. He had 4 of those last week against Baltimore. I think we see Joe Burrow go over his passing yards.
A sieve. I haven't heard that one in a minute. All right, let's send it out to Jack and see what he's got for us.
Hey guys, so normally in the prop battle, we just let Teddy throw out what he likes, and I'm going to normally argue the other side of these games. But this week we're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to give you a couple of marquee quarterbacks that I think we can go under in their passing yards. And this is a trend that I play most of the year, especially when we get into the season a little bit. Names on the back of jerseys don't always equate to overs with passing yards with quarterbacks. Guys like Jalen Hurts, guys like Lamar Jackson. These are, you would think that they would trend over a little bit, but like Aaron Rodgers is in the same exact boat, other than last week and one other week, they trend under with their passing yards almost each week. Their game plans are more conservative. In the case of Philadelphia, they have a running back that they're going to get the ball to even more and more, especially after what we saw, the dumpster fire that Jalen Hurts threw out there last week against LA. Let's look for them to get back to even more running the ball, short passing, if anything, not throwing it down the field as much. Jalen Hurts under his total. Lamar Jackson, for different reasons, banged up, not running it as well, can't throw it in the ocean right now. This is not the Lamar Jackson we're used to. We're going to take advantage of that because the general public likes to go over, especially when they're playing horrible defenses. They, of course, get Cincinnati, worst defense in the league this week. The number bakes that in under the total with Lamar Jackson and his passing yards as well.
All right, and we need to discuss some news at the college level as well. Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore has been fired with cause for having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Moore is currently in police custody for an alleged assault that took place upon his firing. This story is terrible. It is heartbreaking all around, but Michigan still has some more football to play. They're set to take on Texas in the Citrus Bowl. Originally, Texas favored by 6. Teddy, how has this changed things?
Now they're favored by 7.
Ah, okay.
So we've seen money. And we might have seen money for the Longhorns anyway in this matchup. But certainly when your head coach gets fired for cause in what appears to be a pretty ugly situation in Ann Arbor. And, of course, I'm a Michigan graduate. I graduated Michigan in 1992.
Ooh.
So I spent plenty of quality years in Ann Arbor. And when the football coach is under fire, it certainly affects the town as much as and the team. So we've only seen a 1-point line move, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see more. We'll have to see how things play out for the Wolverines when it comes to the coaching the search and see some of the quotes from their senior leaders. I haven't seen a whole lot of that yet.
Yeah, and now the search is on for who will be the next head coach at Michigan. Right now, the odds indicate Buffalo offensive coordinator Joe Brady, the favorite, at plus 300. Arizona State's Kenny Dillingham at plus 400. What jumped out to me, though, Dan Mullen, Mr. UNLV, 18-1. That would be something. But what are your thoughts on these numbers?
So, again, what you're seeing is coaches getting fired at one school and then becoming the favorite to work at someone else. Or, I heard Kalen DeBoer's name bandied about for the Michigan job.
Yep.
Why would you leave Alabama to coach at Michigan?
That's what we were saying.
It makes no sense.
No.
So recognize that the odds for who the next coach is going to be is based only on some odds makers' conceptions of who they can attract money on. This is one marketplace that's not necessarily tethered to reality in terms of the coaching candidates' names.
It's also not a marketplace that you can really explore in Nevada, but it's still worth talking about. It's a national story. We had to mention it. All right, finally on Chalk and Chat, we got best bets coming your way on the other side of the break.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. We are closing out the show in the best way possible. We've got our best bets. Teddy, let's start with you.
Yeah, but we got the job done last week. I'll give us credit with
Yes.
3 picks, 3-0.
Yeah.
I'll give Jay Cormier
Crushed.
credit and Jack, and we had a right side as well. With Jackson.
No sweat in Jays either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they were all right
Yeah,
sides. So let's
great.
see if we can do it again this week. Again, no promises, no guarantees, but we're trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about Buffalo. You get a -1, you get them pick them in New England. And yeah, maybe there's some anti-Mariah in this play. I'll give.
Of course there is.
But it's a divisional revenge game. They lost 23-20 at home earlier this season. Strength of schedule, at least in this bettor's opinion, it matters a lot. And Buffalo, battle-tested. New England, by far the weakest opposing strength of schedule in the league this year. They faced a lot of weak opposition. Turnovers matter. Buffalo, they had 3 of them in the first meeting. Only 5 teams with more giveaways than Buffalo so far this season. I expect them to be better down the stretch. Buffalo, no punts last week. Let's not forget that. And, of course, New England off a 10-game winning streak, a Monday Night Football blowout, and a bye week. That's no urgency scenario. Give me Buffalo to take care of business.
All right, whatever. Let's just send it out to Jack.
Best bet time from Florida, guys. I'm going back to the totals, right? I mean, we went under last week with Kansas City and Houston. This week, we're going to take an over. I just talked about Lamar Jackson not being able to throw it in the ocean, but the cure for their offense is Cincinnati's defense. Expect running out of Baltimore. Lots of points in this game because of Cincinnati's inept defense. And Joe Burrow seems to have it going. They're scoring points. We're going to go over the total there. 6 of the last 7 in the series have gone over. And the cure for Baltimore's offense, which has struggled lately, is certainly Cincinnati's defense. Over the total in the Cincinnati-Baltimore game.
That smile there at the end. Oh, Jack and his totals. Super original. No, I'm kidding. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this episode of Chalk and Chat. For Teddy and Jack, I'm Mariah. Have a good one, party people.